What's up, everybody? This is Illiterate. This week we are covering Weird, the Yankovic Story. My name is Evan. I just checked out the new film on Roku. I'm hanging out with my buddy Taylor.
I looked into old liner notes from his 80s albums.
Oh my god. I dove in and I've been delighted.
Yeah.
It was a blast. This is actually being given away right now for free. Really easy to find. Just search it. Roku. Al. I didn't have to sign up for an app or like give away like my email.
An email. That's funny.
Nothing at all. That you just go click play. It was amazing. Yeah, so I recommend everybody. It's like it's good enough to back it up. Like, so it's really funny. I'm super excited now to be able to talk about it because this is a perfect example of what we cover here on the show, because this is one of this is one of our most beloved pop culture figures who's still with us, and he's in the twilight really of really his career. And to be able to make a big piece of mainstream art with all these cameos that's just as fun and weird as him. God, I didn't even see this coming. This wasn't on our schedule, but what a delight. I can't wait to actually start picking apart what's real and what's fake here. And all of the nonsense behind it.
Yeah, because the thing that I looked at the trailer and whatever, I said, oh, that'll be fun. And Daniel Radcliffe is playing him, which is an interesting choice. I love when people are of the mind of, this doesn't have to look like me. It doesn't matter, that sort of thing. But Weird Al said it in an interview, quote, he said, I hope this confuses a lot of people, because when I told Evan about it, I looked into it. I said, oh, this is itself a parody or satire.
Yeah.
And you can speak more to that.
Realizing really quickly, okay, so he's made his career on parody. Very, very, very quickly you realize the movie is a parody on like music biopics, and it's just on that right off the bat. Brilliant. It's kind of almost obvious the tones that it's going to strike. There are titles like Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story that come to mind, which seems like the most recent, closest comparable, which now we have to think is 15 years ago or more.
Yeah.
And so now we're taking it a step further, where that was kind of lambasting the Johnny Cash stuff indirectly. Now the guy wants his version to be, and it's the guy that does parody. So how perfect. I mean, it kind of, as soon as you realize what it's going to be, it clicks. And it didn't click to me until I pressed play. So
yeah, definitely. His amount of time that he has been involved in the business, and like why hasn't he done this before? I looked at, he's only one of 5 artists, and Madonna and Michael Jackson are 2 of the other ones whom he parodied. And this is the stat, to have a top 40 single in each of the last 4 decades. He's only one of 5.
God,
to have 40 years,
gosh.
Like such a legacy. So
we
we'll
forget
see
how long he's been around. I mean, for real. And to really contextualize this kind of being the swan song, I guess, because right before we jumped on there, we were talking about what the last leg of his career will
he's not going to tour anymore, and
at some point, and so this seems like we're marking that transition. And what an amazing way to do it. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
And I really want to stress to everybody how much fun it actually is, because I was taken totally by surprise.
Well, I had also seen with that, Weird Al loves the Abraham Zucker stuff, Airplane, Naked Gun. He said Top Secret is his favorite movie of all time, which is also a wacky film. It makes sense that he would want to marry some of that, where everybody's playing it straight, but it's just lunacy all around.
And it has this cornucopia of cameo cast who are their name actors playing name personalities. Like it's absolutely wild. Like not only Madonna is like one of the central plot characters, but like Oprah Winfrey has like several sequences with lines, and like it's absolute. Like, just saying that makes me giggle, and like that is the tone of the film, really. And everybody, like you say, they're playing it straight. You're seeing like Elton John and all just nonsense, like all these culture icons, especially from the 80s. It's charged with the 80s with this 80s flair. But it's amazing to see who they're casting as what, and it just it's hilarious without even having to lift a finger.
Yeah, definitely. Let's with that hop into how all this madness got put together. Seems like
Please.
it's a long time coming. Eric Apple is his directorial debut feature wise. He's done tons of television series directing in the comedy vein,
Right.
especially. And his whole thing, he was like employee number 8 for Funny or Die, the
Wow.
the web
Oh my
uh
gosh. Yeah.
Will Ferrell vehicle stuff comes from it, and really dawn of the internet
Well,
humor
there
site,
yeah.
like college humor kind of stuff. Yeah.
So that's gosh, I mean, he's not making a feature film until now, but gosh, he's had an incredible ride.
Yeah, yeah. So what he did
uh,
what what he did with Funny or Die in relation to this, they had made a fake trailer for
mhm.
essentially this, a satirical biographical film in 2010, and I'll post a
Right.
link
I
to
think I
this.
remember this.
Aaron Paul plays
Uh-huh.
Weird
Okay.
Al. Weird Al plays Weird Al's not manager, but studio head who says, "This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
stupid.
yeah.
You'll never work in this town." And Patton Oswalt's in it, and he's got a cameo in the film.
Yeah,
Tons of
yeah,
other
yeah.
Olivia Wilde, I believe, is Madonna.
Oh
It
my
it, it
gosh.
basically is the micro version of this film
Yeah.
as a parody of itself. And so this came out in 2010, and
Yes.
Weird Al, because his concerts, which I've never been to one, but I
I
hear they're
have
amazing.
actually.
Oh, you
Yeah,
have? Yeah.
I have been to one at the Hollywood Bowl. My buddy JD invited me.
Oh,
It was a
wow.
fantastic time. He's such a showman. I
He is, yeah,
recommend
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Do it. Go if you have the chance.
Before he this
Yes.
might be the I
At
don't
some
even know
point,
if he's still
I
yeah.
have no idea when he's going to stop, but at some point he will stop because it's a huge show. At some point he's going to do other creative things. So I just recommend it while he's still doing it. Go. It's
Well,
fun.
in Showman, like you said, there's costume changes and there's foolishness and
It's
it's a
amazing.
multimedia experience, and so
Yes.
he would show this trailer at his concerts during costume changes. He's
Yeah.
showing his appearances on The Simpsons and random clips just to give people something while they're moving the set around, and
It
he's
helps you
changing into something else.
remember how long he's been around and how much he's
Uh-huh.
really touched and been involved in and how much he's inspired. I mean, God, it's hard to when we say Weird Al, the last thing we think is, yeah, 4-decade-long touchstone of the industry. But that's exactly what
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah. And so showing all of this stuff, people recognize, oh, he's an institution. People are like,
Yeah.
when is this real film going to be out? When are we going to get to know everything? And as you said, Walk Hard came out in 2007. And so that
The Dewey Cox
would have
story.
filled that niche. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't make sense for him to then pull anything out close to that time frame.
Right.
But
Little too hot on
uh
the iron right there, but I
yeah.
don't know. 10 years. It's been another 12 years.
Well, and what really got him, Weird Al sees Bohemian Rhapsody, Rocket Man. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
2018 and 19, and he loves Elton John and Queen parodying their songs. So he's had to talk to them or their institutions
yeah,
before. And the thing that he really laughed at with these biopics is, why did you have to change so many of the facts just for your own artistic license?
yeah,
Specifically in Rocket Man, they say, "Oh, he changed because Elton John's name is not Elton John, but he changed his name after seeing a photo of John Lennon."
hmm,
And no, it was actually Long John
mm.
Baldry. But he's like, "Oh, nobody knows that person," so they just changed it to be more interesting or
Oh
more palatable.
god, no.
He's like, "Why? Who ca?"
Oh
So he's
god,
like,
yeah.
"Why don't I just do that and go way off the rails? Why don't I just change things randomly and have fun
What an
with it?"
opportunity,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, what a way I've been when Bohemian Rhapsody came out, I've I was screaming. I was sc I was screaming, it was like, "The story of what happened is a good story."
yeah.
So, I've been meditating in this mode too of why is it necessary to change everything. And so to have something like this jewel here that has that exact message behind it, it's the gusto of it is if you want to change everything, then we end up in this adaptation nightmare.
Yeah. And it
which
fits
is
with
hilarious.
his
It fits
brand, yeah.
this, but as far as you want to talk about what it's talking about, the music biopics is most of them are insane. Most of them are absurd, and they're changing things you don't even realize to
Mhm.
get to a desired effect that you don't even realize is not even accurate. I mean, it's completely off. And so
Yeah.
this it's just a hilarious chef's kiss from me of attacking this notion of just well, we can bend and change any little fact we deem necessary
Mhm.
because it's a better story.
Yeah.
I disagree. The story of what happens 9 times out of 10 is pretty great. I don't know. I'm going on the soapbox. Save
Yeah.
me.
Well, Weird Al, his story is super boring. He has supportive parents. It's pretty what A to B to C.
Right.
And so he's like, nobody would watch that anyways. So here is this guy from Funny or Die who made a thing, and let me get him. So they wrote and developed it together. And Weird Al doesn't want to direct it. He's like, I don't want to go through all that mess. I'll produce it and
Gosh,
be on
yeah,
the
right,
set and
right,
have a bit part, but get the guy who had the creative desire behind it
right,
10 years ago to do it. And
right.
so they work on it together. And then Daniel Radcliffe was their number one. They reached out to him as a as an option for wanting to do it.
I
And
wonder. I wish I was in the room for the conversation of how they land on him because I wouldn't know who to cast down on as at all. But like
yeah.
that's certainly an inspired choice, and for two people to go yes and point at each other and like
Yeah.
like yeah, I mean it's amazing.
Well, I did find one bit of filmed evidence of
Mm,
how they picked him. So
mm,
Daniel Radcliffe had said that he was not really into Weird Al up until about a decade ago when his girlfriend introduced it, and her family is super into him, and he finally
mm,
really understood, also because he's from England, and so the American
right,
sensibility of it all is a bit lost. But the video evidence I'll point to, which Weird Al said he saw and said, "Oh, I already like this guy. Doing interesting stuff. He'd already done Swiss Army Man. He wants to do the weird, funky stuff. Seems
right,
like he would
right.
be down." So on the Graham Norton show, which is a British, I don't know if it's late night, but it's one of those chat with celebrities
Mhm,
shows.
mhm.
Daniel performs. Tom Lehrer is a old school comedian, musician from like, God, I don't want to be wrong, but
Yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah.
50s black and white footage of him.
I got
And
you.
he's got some really funny songs, but the thing that he really does well is wordplay and creative rhyming and what Weird Al
Okay.
has to do with his songs. But Daniel memorized one of Tom Lehrer's songs is called The Elements, and he uses the melody from, I think, something from the Pirates of Penzance, and it's literally all of the elements
Oh, yes.
in
Yeah.
rhyme fashion, and it's Daniel and Rihanna on the thing, and Daniel just does the whole thing, and people are clapping along, and he's like, "No, shut up, I need to finish this," and he just does the whole thing, and people think he's only going to do a couple verses. And he's like, "No, I'm going to do do
Oh
the
my
whole song."
gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so Weird Al's then like, "Well, I think Daniel gets me then," or he would at least humor a Zoom call to
Right.
to be interested. So yeah, that was one of the things that clued them into this
Wow.
might this
Wow.
might be his vibe. He's willing
Oh
to
my gosh.
he's that much of a nerd that he's going to memorize the whole Elements song from Tom Lehrer. We might have a
Oh
chance
my
with him.
gosh.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll post that in the show notes if you want to if you want to see him do that
Beautiful.
whole thing. Yeah, but that kind of leads us to, I think, Weird Al himself, as you said, what is true, what actually got him into this and his career that we just think of
Just don't
as everlasting, but he had to start somewhere and
don't
get
go
to
to the
this place.
movie if you want to
Yeah.
know the because he got what he wanted. If you, I hope this confuses people because we don't like to admit it, but some people like go to the movies to figure out what their what the story of their
Of
history might
course.
be or who
Yeah.
these people are, of course. And he got what he wanted. If that's what you're doing, you will come out pretty confused in a hilarious way.
In a way,
So
you will know who he is by
I,
what he yeah.
using all, I mean, just taking the music biopic cliches and just ramming them down your throat in the most incredible way. So I can't wait to hear actually
Yeah.
some of the real truth here because I don't know much.
Yeah. Well, I alluded to that he doesn't have scandal in his life.
Right.
The biggest scandal was Gangster's Paradise, who he was parodying.
Right.
Do you know who does that? I don't wanna
Coolio? Is that
I think
Coolio?
yeah,
Let
yeah,
me
yeah, yeah.
see. Because,
And we
they
can get
have
back
him
yeah.
they have his reaction in the film as just like, and that's very much
Well, then
becomes
that's
a
him,
point of
yeah.
contention, and that becomes a point of contention in the movie is the artist's reaction to the parody, and so this is one that just doesn't like it. So,
Yeah, but that
without
was the
saying
only
anything,
thing.
so
Yeah, but, that was easily smoothed over in real life, but, like, in
mhm.
terms of an actual scandal compared to what they try to pump into these biopics of
Right, right.
revenge and drug addiction and
The
chaos and
struggle,
adultery and the struggle and all of that,
the
Weird Al
tortured artist ripping sinks off the wall.
Yeah, in real life, Weird Al doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, has never done drugs, doesn't even swear. He is a vegetarian, maybe vegan. I saw different things, but
Hmm,
is conscientious of that. Great husband, great father. Just nobody can say anything bad about him. His decency in public is also legendary because he is
mm,
actually quite private and polite and shy. And I
mm,
have firsthand experience with this. I worked for an ice cream company and we did events in Los Angeles. And I was at
yeah,
this backyard fundraiser for a school's arts program. So just somebody that went to the school, I don't know, it was some ritzy
sure.
LA school, but it wasn't even like a thing. And I think maybe his daughter went to that school or something, but he was just
Mm.
there as a person
Oh, yeah.
and is immediately mobbed by everyone and people are going
Mm.
up, but he is never tired, constantly whatever people want, photo here, silly face there, sign this. Just basically, you'd think, "Oh, he just
Gosh.
wants to be left alone," and of all places, a private backyard event,
Oh
and
my
still the
gosh.
entire time, he is extremely gracious and kind to people. I just looked at that and I was like, "My
Aw.
god, this
Yeah.
guy talks the talk and walks the walk, like,
He's
he's
the
just
real
gonna this
deal.
is his life all the time." The lowly
No
ice cream yeah,
cracks.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Genuinely, he's so genuine about everybody that wants to come up and see him, like, so grateful, so gracious.
Wow.
Uh, so yeah, I believe it too,
Yeah.
that people say all that. The, tidbit about the accordion is
Yeah.
true. A door-to-door salesman did come to their house.
Which feels now like almost one of the most unbelievable elements as aside from the fantastical things laid in the plot,
Yeah, yeah.
this almost feels like the most unrealistic one of the most unrealistic things that happens because I was thinking about as the scenes were playing out, and it's like, "Man, when did this go out of style? When did traveling salesman knocking on your door really start to lessen? Because it seems like such a prescient trope all the way until almost God, that feels like the 80s or 90s is when it really started to die out, and it's such a classic thing. So I was like, when did this really what?" So, uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this was '66, and if you think about it, it's the golden age of the Beatles and Beach Boys and Bob
right.
Dylan. The guitar is the thing. It is
Yeah.
fudged a little bit because this salesman was coming with, "Oh, I can teach your kid lessons." But the father doesn't have a vendetta against that part
That's
of it
what
is
I
not
was yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I
yeah.
was cracking up about. So that's
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask about is like, so I assume his father was supportive.
Oh, they paid for it. Yeah, they're like, "Sure."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
They make the father hilariously into this just like horrible, like against art, against expressing yourself, against the accordion, against it. It's so cartoonishly funny. Toby Huss does an incredible job, the actor.
Yeah.
It's so over the top. Like the parent characters in particular are just so cartoonishly over the top. And the mom just like flat out tells you, just like, well, I think it's best if you just give up on all your dreams and you just
Yeah.
stop being yourself.
'Cause that's
Like,
how an actual biopic works, is if there's no immediate yeah, if they're supportive and say, "Sure, do what you want," then there's what's the conflict? Yeah.
it's like the accordion salesman comes in and is showing the child Al the things, and his father comes in and sees him and assaults the man, like beats him for showing his son the accordion. It's just
Yeah.
again, just like a cartoonish, just outlandish logic, but
Yeah,
amazing.
amazing. With that, kid playing the learning the accordion, what is true is that he is, as a child, alone in his room most of the time. His mom is pretty sheltering of him,
Hmm.
and, He's a nerd, he's a freak. He was smarter and then younger, so he got bumped up and was always 2 years younger in all of his
Mm.
grades, which you can
Mhm.
imagine, that's horrible to
Yeah.
think that that's your life. So he graduated at 16, and he
Oh my
was
god.
valedictorian also.
Whoa!
So he's a freak, you know what I mean? It's
Oh
like
my god, yeah, you have a target on it's not
yeah,
yeah, that's not like nobody you don't slip through.
yeah,
And nobody noticed,
yeah.
that's
And so he didn't
people
really have a
know.
lot of friends, was
Oh
bullied,
my
and
gosh,
he
oh
found
my
his
gosh.
comedy is a smart person's way of making sense of the world for a lot
Right.
of people, and
Yes.
so this was Dr. Demento is a real person, this radio DJ who he would listen to,
Mm.
and he submitted a thing to his show in high school
Mm.
and was interested in it, but went to school for architecture and gets
Yeah.
his bachelor's for that. And the Weird Al thing, I don't know if they have anything with this, but it is not a compliment. It's people making fun of him in college. It's
Gosh,
uh,
no.
I don't know if
That
they had that in the yeah.
no, that's not part of the story. It just kind of comes out as part of somebody that's producing his act and just is blurted out by them, "You're gonna be this now." So,
No,
no,
it
they
was
don't.
his choice. It was
Gosh.
kind of turning around an insult into a badge of honor.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
yeah, the bullying continued in college, and there was this hallmate who got his clothes back. Somebody stole them during a shower, and he had to run back using the
Oh
curtain
my
to cover
gosh.
himself. So this guy Joel Miller then says, "I'm gonna beat you guys over the head with a chair if you keep doing this to this kid," because he's younger than everybody. He's 16,
Gosh.
you know? Uh,
God.
and Joel says, "What's this? An accordion?" Joel plays the bongos. They start jamming. Joel, lifelong friend, best man at his wedding. They're still tight.
Wow. Wow.
Um, this gives him his out and, oh, somebody else who likes music and
Well,
is a
see,
little bit
look, if you
weird.
wanted to go straight nosed,
And do a real
Weird Al
biopic.
and
It's
do
there.
a
Yeah.
real biopic and say these are the facts, it's that moment there.
That's what I'm trying to give you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like, otherwise, the conflict isn't it's not people
Yeah.
want this is so funny. People want the Weird
This.
Al. They want this. They absolutely want this, but it's not reality in the slightest. And if like if somebody spent millions of dollars in making the teenagers looking out for each other
Mhm.
story, that might be awesome and compelling and cool, but I is it going to have any further reach than what the film that we got is having? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
that idea done to the best, is it going to be any better than in terms
Mhm.
of reaction and reach? Is it going to do any better than this? I don't know. I don't. I really don't.
Mhm.
And I'm saying this as somebody who would love to see that other. That's more my tone and style in a way. But like
Yeah.
when you match up as far as like how that would be received, is it? I don't. It's still Weird Al. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah.
what people. This is what people want, even if it is some like cartoon caricature nightmare of of what people think a story is.
Yeah, it's almost like you couldn't do it this way because even with
Right,
so him and
right.
Joel start going to open mics, and at this time, people are playing acoustic guitar ballads at coffee shops, and it's Joel on the bongos and him on accordion, and they're playing the theme from 2001, just ruining people's,
And that's your end with your
yeah,
and they went on to do incredible things,
yeah,
to
yeah,
credit the title. And nobody and that's not gonna
satisfying, yeah,
exactly,
yeah. But, they're doing what they love, weird musical comedy, subversive, strange, and so this is my baloney, or my Bologna, or my Sharona, all that, and they record this in the college bathroom because it's got a good reverb.
That is part of it, which I was questioning as it happened. It seems really specific.
Mhm.
But the paranoia watching this movie by this point in the plot of what is real and
Well,
what
and
is
Weird Al
not
even said
is part of the fun.
yeah, because in the movie, it's in a bus station, not a college
Oh,
bathroom, and Weird Al's
right,
like, "I
yeah.
just did that because why not? Because sure, I'm just gonna change it slightly because I can for no reason." Uh, and so he does. This is officially the birthplace of Weird Al's career because then this gets played on Dr. Demento's show and blows up. There is a plaque at Cal Poly where he went to architecture school at this
Hmm.
bathroom that says
Oh,
this is where Weird Al's career began in this
oh, that's
bathroom.
awesome!
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very cool.
That's
Uh,
cool.
and then just glossing through because it's been pretty much smooth sailing from there on. Eat It premieres on MTV, and that's what really set him off, the parodying even the music video,
It's one of
building
my
up.
favorite departures. There's a lot of departures from reality, as you might have
Mhm.
picked up by now, but this is one of my favorite departures in in the plot. Taking Eat It is his moment to say, "I'm gonna do an original," so there is
Right.
no Beat It yet, and that just is his song, and then Michael Jackson comes out with Beat It after him,
Yeah.
parodying him. It's
And people might believe that, yeah.
it's incredible. It's so funny. It's so
Well, I think
funny.
they do that in a way too, because Weird Al does. I love a lot of his originals. It's not just that he has
Right,
style
right.
parodies or straight parodies. He has originals too that are super awesome
Absolutely,
and
absolutely,
super
and
creative.
certainly a ton of polka.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Polka mixes and everything. Yeah, that was
A
one of the ones
polka
that I.
party. That was
Yeah,
so funny. Oh my god. He like his teenage friends are taking him out to a polka party. And
as if it's some salacious thing. Yeah.
the dad kid, it's like it's the devil basically.
Yeah.
Polka. It's incredible.
Speaking of which, his polka type mixes. So I just watched the first 45 seconds because I wanted to
Yeah.
see that, oh, I could watch it for free. But Lin-Manuel Miranda is in it. I don't know if
Yeah.
you caught that.
Yeah,
He's
I
he's
did. I did.
so whatever. And he's obsessed with Weird Al. He did a song for his 6th grade class once as a kid.
Wow.
He said it had a huge influence on Hamilton. His and you can
Yeah.
imagine the lyrical dexterity that both of them
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Interesting, and so Lynn was like, I have this one day in LA, does it line up with when you're filming?" And they said, "Yes." And it's funny because it ends up being the opening scene, and
Yeah.
so it's like, "Oh, there's gonna be a lot of weird cameos for no
Yeah.
reason." It kinda sets the stage of like, "Wait, why is Lin-Manuel Miranda, oh, there's gonna be a lot of musical and otherwise just strange cameos in this." Um, but Weird Al, when Hamilton came out, he did a polka medley of all the Hamilton songs mixed in. And this was the first time a polka
Oh my
song
gosh.
landed on the Billboard digital song sales
No.
charts. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So polka did get its due
Oh
in
my
real life
gosh.
with him. The music video stuff with him back to his life waned and his career dumped off with because he had done so far 14 studio albums as of now, but he's
My
only
god.
made one movie before this. And that one movie was in the late '80s, 1989, called UHF, and
What?
have you seen this? Do you know about this at all?
No, no.
Oh, yeah, no, it's like a cult classic because it was Orion Pictures who then they thought this was
Yeah.
gonna get them out of the hole and did horrible, and then
No.
I think they went away and maybe they came back, but it is a disaster for
Yes.
them. But, no, this is like he's running this public access TV, that's the UHF frequency, and instead of it being parody music stuff, what he's playing is parodies of shows. So it makes
Okay.
it a vehicle for, oh, could they parody the shows of the time in short bursts?
I
And there's a
see.
bigger
Okay,
plot to
okay.
it, but because that yeah, but it was a commercial failure, but also back to one of our other episodes, Batman came out at the same time.
Ah. Tough competition that weekend for a
Yeah.
year straight after that.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. So this was going nowhere. So people thought perhaps this is the end of him. What else can he do? But it caught back on because of Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, reached out to Kurt Cobain about doing a
Mm.
parody, and Cobain loved the idea about how no one could understand him because it smells like Nirvana, and he's making fun of
Right.
how he sings and that style that everybody's like, "Oh
Right.
my god, this is tainting the youth," and so it catches on, and that's one of the things too, is he always gets permission to parody, which you don't have to, but
Right.
if he reached out, like Prince did not want him to parody ever, and even
Mm.
was like, "Don't even look me in the eye when we're when we're in the same room," kinda thing, but
You are
that's what
not
got it.
allowed to address me.
Yeah, yeah, but,
Oh my god.
that's, I think, also part of why he has lasted so long too, and with the decency of it, is because he does get the love and say from the people that he's parodying, so they then also endorse and support it, and there's no guff. There's
Yeah,
no
he's not just
drama
reaching and taking because he can.
to be salacious. Yeah. Yeah, he
Right.
wants them. Yeah. Which kind of, I guess, leads to the sort of why he never went away, why he's been in through 7 presidential administrations,
My
the '80s
god.
and onward. And I was reading a essay that somebody wrote, and it's kinda like him and kids in this time feeling odd and insecure. Maybe they don't feel like Michael Jackson or Nirvana or Madonna, these big American mainstream cool things, but he's inserting himself into it, deflating it completely,
Right.
showing like, hey, this being a rock star, being a pop star is also absurd and silly.
Right.
Nobody's out of the sniper scope when it comes to this. And
Right.
that he's popular too. He's good. Like people like him.
Yeah.
He was on Oprah. I'll post a link to that clip. Like he actually did an
Right.
interview with her so like he gets to say, "Hey, get over yourself. Nobody's that important." And
Right.
so he's making music for himself in his room as a kid, which is timeless. There will always be kids. I know his Straight Outta Linwood, where he's like has more modern music, is like, oh, he's still got it because
Right.
there's people in the in the early mid 2000s that
Well,
feel excluded. Yeah.
I genuinely think that Word Crimes is a better version of
Yeah.
Blurred Lines. Like, it actually is a better version of that song.
Yeah. One of the things that I saw with talking about like how it's better, there's an article where they went into his process of writing,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's very clinical, very meticulous. He's got hundreds of alternate lines, full quatrains,
Yeah.
list of possible rhymes categorized by syllable count, binders full
Yes.
of color coded tabs. Like
Ooh.
he is pouring over
Yeah.
it as if it's high literature because you've got to get it exactly right. And so
Right.
even with White and Nerdy, it's like the line variations. Escher's really still my favorite MC. Tell ya Escher's still my favorite MC. MC Escher's still my favorite MC. You know Escher is my favorite MC. Like it matters,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and he's pouring over this, whether it's my favorite or the favorite or all the little syllables to try and get it to match and have a good cadence and what fits. And so yeah, like
It's so funny
he's
because,
smart. Yeah.
the detail that he's going through to match and make it authentic to the original is so the point that the the film is trying to make with these biopics, that they don't go through
Right,
that
right.
kind of detail,
That's
and
a good
then so
point.
they
Yeah.
don't go, they don't even, some of them don't ask to even do it, um
Or they could
that's
very easily, why not set it in the college bathroom? Why'd you change it to a bus stop? What does it matter? Yeah, that's a good point.
I was, it's just something consistent in his respect that he gives the artist and the piece, that it is consistent in what the movie is saying, I think, and how it's critiquing the movie, music biopic. That's pretty, that's is that on purpose?
Yeah, it
That's
has to be.
incredible.
Incredible, incredible. The last thing I think is worth bringing up because that's kind of him up to now, and like you said,
Right, right.
get tickets to a tour if you can because it is a full-on
It's a party. It's
multimedia
just a fun,
performance.
yeah.
And the only other one, because you had mentioned Walk Hard, we said it a couple times. There was a film called Pop Star that came out in 2016, Andy
Oh, you're
Samberg,
right.
and like The
Right.
Lonely Island, but they're so much a spiritual successor to Weird Al.
Right. I forgot about that. I need to, I had a friend when it came out that was all about it, and I
Mhm.
never did see it, so maybe I need to go watch it. I'm from
Yeah,
in
it
the
kind of was
biopic comedy mood.
but again, it wasn't a real person, it was based on a fake person, and it's mu
Right, right, right.
Lonely Island has their whole style, which is more self-depreciating masculinity,
Right.
different vibe to it. But yeah, I was looking into parody, musical parody over time, and there was
Yeah.
only one bit of business that I thought was worth mentioning, and it gets a little confusing because there's a thing called parody mass, which the first term of it comes out in 1587, like mass, like the Catholic
Yes.
service. And this has nothing to do with humor or ridicule. Parody is the wrong word, but it's what's used in
Mhm.
this context. It's just like mixing and mashing different parts of other mass musical compositions. So I was confused. Don't be confused if you look this up. And
Mhm.
it's like, no, there's not humor in the in the
It's
Catholic
not
mass.
funny.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, but what was funny was Mozart, 1787. He has a composition which roughly translates from the German to musical joke.
Hmm.
And I'll post a link to a YouTube video that goes through this, and you could listen to the whole thing. It's like 20 minutes long.
Mhm.
But the comments are funny because people are like, hilarious, 14, 15, and it's just music. So funny, 20. I'm like, am I missing something here? Just sounds
LOL,
like a,
stanzas 11.
yeah, yeah. It just sounds like a Mozart piece. I don't, you know. But the context behind it is that he is making fun of what would be considered his competitors at the time, incompetent composers, people that are doing things that aren't pushing or challenging the genre, just like a pop song. It's like, oh, they're not doing anything different, so let me make fun of this and take them down a peg.
Mm.
So in Mozart's way, where he's making fun of the harmonic and rhythmic gaffes of the incompetence. So the whole thing is two horns and a string quartet, which is not unheard of, but it is very clunky because they don't really mix in. Why two horns instead of one?
Yeah.
And I'm speaking, out of nowhere because I'm not a classical, rake me over the coals that I'm not really explaining
Gee.
music theory that well. But from what I could tell looking into this, a couple other things with it. He does sort of a medieval harmony at times versus a Baroque thing, which is very unfashionable.
Hmm.
Or classical rather.
Mhm.
He's like mixing things where it's like, oh, this is old. Why are people still doing this? I'm going to put this in here. Which again, in the
Interesting.
comments, if it's like hilarious, I don't know the difference. Sounds kind of the same to me.
Great bird.
Yeah. The ones that you can find though, that he writes in these quote mistakes. So the end of this violin solo, they're supposed to be able to go up this thing, and they end up like failing going up the scale. So it does sound bad. Like he
It's
writes it
written
bad.
in. The
It's
fail is
yeah.
written in.
Yeah, it's out of tune. Like they can't, like the person couldn't physically do it, so it goes out of tune. But really, the easiest one to understand is at the end, which this might be one of the earliest uses of this thing, polytonality, where you're using more than one key simultaneously.
Mm.
But because of how it's put together, it just sounds like it just ends on this like it's really grossly out of tune. That's the end of this whole
My
thing.
favorite.
Yeah, I love it too. So, if anything, look at the link, go to the last 15 seconds and listen to, oh, this is bad. This didn't work. They just couldn't hack it at the end. Yeah. So, that's the most that's the closest thing I could find that is in historical terms, musical joke by Mozart, a parody of those around him at his time.
It reminds me, I was scrolling Reddit and I just happened to see, I'm not subscribed to the Reddit, but it was like a Reddit all about coding, and so it was like
Uh-huh.
a meme. It was just like, look at the base code of this
Yeah.
website, and all the comments were like, "LOL, can't believe it," and I'm just like looking through the code for the joke. You know?
Yeah, it's a different language. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't
yeah,
understand it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Yeah, so maybe in 100 years, people go back and look at the Weird Al songs and be like, this isn't, what is this? Yeah, why is
Oh
this
my
funny?
gosh.
Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. I had a blast. This was seriously such a delight. I did not expect to have this much fun with this material. I did not expect to have this much fun with this movie at all.
Mhm.
And man, you can't argue with Totally Free. Don't even have to give them your email address. My God. So totally recommend it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you, Taylor, for the research.
Yeah, thank you.
Reach out to us. Let us know what you're reading and watching. You never know when we're going to do an episode. Check out our show notes, get all those special little nibs in there. Look at our socials, go look at our extra work. We will catch you right back here next week. @illiteratepod@gmail.com, @illiteratepod on Instagram, and we will see you back here.
See you then.